Trenton Garman, Gfile News, reporting June the 10th of 2023. The article is from March the 28th, 2023. Domestic unconstitutional, secret and financial based oaths. The American Fraternal Order of Police. Not all who say they're enforcing the law are actually law-abiding or good. Thus, unarticulated by many, purported officer often becomes the actual lawbreaker, masquerading as other. Let's not pretend it ain't so. Otherwise, one would be denying the very basis and reason for having a civil rights code. Is that not a white elephant in every city council meeting room across America? How much surveillance is enough? How many Leos do we need, quote, on the streets? How do people survive with just a good old-fashioned sheriff? Ever thought about that? Because they survived actually with more freedoms. How do we engage in a conversation about law and order while knowing that everyone really does not want peace and safety? Some claim they do, but not everyone wants peace and safety. Some want financial interest satisfied first and then peace and safety. Those would not be constitutional oaths if taken. So the solution is apparent. Not more law enforcement, but we need for crime to be curbed by traditional law enforcement by way of the sheriff and him having well-run departments. It could be said that I'm stirring the pot, and I'm sure many will not agree with me. But the reality is that there are oaths that we as Americans, if objectively evaluating, should find as constitutionally subversive, and that will bear witness upon why we, and he, the lawman, and us, the citizens, have such tension. Because I propose to you that there's a secret society, a secret class hiding in plain view in America. Let me sum up their oath. Zero reference to the Constitution. Financial interests is in the order. Financial interest among just this order's members. Brotherhood, references to God. No reference to securing civil rights of the citizens, and no reference to serve and protect. And these secret meetings that are memorialized have oaths and passwords to get into before you take the oath that you're going to agree to financial security and secrecy among the group. Well, would you think it was the Muslim Brotherhood or a Brotherhood of Communism that were among us? If those were the groups, you certainly would not accept their existence. But no, this organization is called the Corporate Police Brotherhood, also known as the Fraternal Order of Police. I love people, and people are police officers. But the concepts and the principles are at issue, not the individuals, and they should be considered. Some call them new Nazis because of their methods and their manners, and the reality that the police order, the term from the German, literally is where we derive the word police from. The reality is as well that those orders in Germany had financial and secret vows, just like what we see implemented in these municipal corporate agents who are taking private vows to a subversive constitutional group. The oath, literally, academically, and philosophically, has a duty inherent to it to the officer's financial interests over the citizen's civil rights. One may hold that out as constitutional, but the overlap of financial interests is absolutely not justifiable. It's a rogue, prima facie speaking, subversive constitutional group to the extent that those oaths are maintained. That was the Kansas City version, and it is unknown what oaths each one of the FOP members have taken, but those should be denounced immediately. If you are a United States citizen purporting to be enforcing American jurisprudence and securing the civil rights of citizens, and you have taken a fraternal order of police oath to your brotherhood and financial security and secrecy among the brotherhood, you are in a constitutionally subversive oath and must and should denounce it to stay in right standing with the Constitution, which is the social contract of labor. It is an indisputable fact that more highly trained men can do the same job should deputized and defunding be considered than full-time guys that are out running the streets many times improperly trained. So our great nation needs to consider deputizing and defunding, and we need to consider questioning officers and departments about their oaths to the Fraternal Order of Police and why there have been oaths in the history of the Fraternal Order of Police that made them secret societies and did not reference the Constitution. Well, that's a matter of public safety. And that is how Germany devolved into the state that it was. All the while, people did not notice that their neighbors were slowly becoming part of the National Socialist Party. Absolute true story that corporate law enforcement do a lot of good. Absolute true story that corporate law enforcement help people as best as they can within their understanding. But it's absolutely also a true story that I have seen a wife in a corporate municipal courtroom be overcharged after simply yelling and slamming the door, being slammed to the ground on the video, and the judge looked the other way, and the corporate police officer literally bore no type of remorse for inflaming and causing a young lady to be excited to the extent that she was in fear. And then he did a literal slamming of her to the ground. Over and over again, I've seen video of a pregnant young lady being taken down unnecessarily. I've seen people be pushed into vehicles. It is tragic, the lack of training that is out there on the streets, because corporate taxation of private citizens through pretext of law, this being forced to travel through, even on a federal interstate, a corporate's jurisdiction is beginning to eat into the human resources and commercial value of we the people. It's clearly a concerning pattern. It's a totalitarian type regime, and they're operated many times based on federal grants. These municipal corporations have funny money coming to them, being pushed out by the federal government. They're driving $85,000 Tahoes, paramilitary vehicles. Departments literally have tanks and Hummers and think nothing of it. It's a paramilitary corporate agent that swarms someone when they don't have a tag updated or they make a domestic disturbance call. All of a sudden, the disturbance turns into domestic violence because one of the corporate guys, and I've seen this with my own eyes, gets agitated and flips and wants to take somebody to the ground. They consider it to be picking people off when they go out to make an arrest and cuff someone, and become so hardened by their patterns of encroaching on the free time of people, seizing their property for purported forfeitures, or at least through investigating holds, that these 30,000 departments are not able to see the plantation-like slave and indentured servitude system that they are creating by scooping up Americans of all walks of life into the net of mass incarceration. It is a judicial industrial complex, and it is being sourced by the corpus, which is the body, we the people, the citizens, and being done in an unconstitutional and subversive way. Again, 4 out of 5, if you compare the world global per capita incarceration rate, 4 out of 5 incarcerated Americans should not be there. That is mass incarceration. Catch them, hold them, trade them, create an account for them to pay, let them go work, and then if we can snare them up again, catch them again, bring them back, make them concentrate for long enough on what we're teaching them then let them go. Situation after situation with no victim that occurs to citizens, and they call it law. The global numbers bear witness as true. America is not as free as the propaganda would have you believe. In fact, statistically speaking, in that one regard, America would be considered tied for as least free as any country in the world, short of China, because mass incarceration is a category of freedom. And we don't really know in China how many people are in their version of concentration camps or jails. So the secrecy is an issue. Is an issue because people would not be treating their neighbor like this if they were true constitutional deputies or a sheriff. But we are seeing policing agents of corporations purport to be doing law, and they run their beat and begin to impute criminal intent to orderly behavior or otherwise smells and words. It's histrionics, plain and simple. But to them, the theater must go on. So the atmosphere must be gaslit, because most of the time there's really no danger that is present at the point in time when corporate municipal police arrive, because most crime is actually stopped by private citizens. Now, it is my prayer that every law enforcement officer be safe, be guarded by his or her guardian angel, and otherwise be honored by the citizens. As a Catholic and a person of peace, those things matter to me. But this is money talk. That's what corporate revenue courts and much of mass incarceration has become about. An accounting, a digital system where the person becomes transmitted from a private slave and converted into this cash or credit system. That is where this purported permanent record has now surfaced to exist. You get your permanent number if you get arrested and thrown in somebody's cage, because that's literally what they call it, your permanent number. Well, there is the propaganda-less reality of mass incarceration. The rates are astonishing. So the society's call to order, which is feeding this, the Fraternal Order Police, is laid out very clearly on gfile.news. And you can go read through word for word where the Fraternal Order of Police and anyone who's unknowingly taking this vow are entering into vows of secrecy and financial security, meaning that they would be willing to not testify against a quote brother if it adversely would work against them in court, and they consider it proper to take the other brother's financial interest and their financial interest at heart when executing on their law enforcement duties, not the security and the rights of the citizens. That is a major problem. The website has laid out on it each one of the terms that make it very clear. So my hope and my cry, if you will, public outcry, is for freedom and liberty and life to continue to prevail, for the bullet tactics of paramilitary police to stop. I'm not impressing anybody. Nobody that's ever been through real military training or played any type of athletics thinks that it makes you manly, even tough as a woman, to go bully people. Law is not supposed to be based on fear. It's supposed to be based on truth and love. Yes, fear God and respect Caesar, but we will fear as a people no evil. And we will not allow our rights to continue to be trampled on, our lives to be impaired, and our travel rights to be impaired simply because someone wants to worship at the altar of a golden calf called a revenue interested municipal court system. That is my opinion. And I pray that America, in those regards, brings things under order. Because the president of the Fraternal Order of Police calling them to attention, getting new members to acknowledge that of their own free will, they've come in with the secret code, secret password, and they're willing to protect their brothers and advancing their interests and their gangs and protect the security and welfare of its members is subversive. And it is so near and akin to what we saw in Nazi Germany in the days of Dietrich Bonhoeffer that is extremely concerning. So peace be with you. May every law enforcement officer be guarded and protected by St. Michael. May they be diligent, sensitive, and respectful of the rights of the citizens. Gfile News, legal docket reports and civil rights news from a natural law perspective, providing a watchdog service to the judicial industrial complex and the military industrial